One KTRS. Colin Jeffrey is standing outside of the burned-out Quick Trip in Ferguson, the site of a news conference that is 40 minutes late, where they're going to name the police officer. It's gone from the sublime to the ridiculous. Good morning, Colin Jeffrey from the KTRS newsroom. Can you set the scene for us?
Well, good morning, McGraw. I'm going to have to speak pretty quickly here because the chief is actually walking in the microphone. It's probably best if we just hop over to Fox 2 here in a minute. I can tell you with the press, there's probably between 75 and 100 people here. But Chief Jackson's stepping to the microphone right now.
All right, here we go. Here's Chief Jackson.
Sorry about keeping everybody waiting. Let me know when you're ready.
We got 1 minute. Colin, we got 1 minute?
We got 1 minute there. Okay.
All right.
You know, it's
yeah, hold that thought. Hold that thought, Colin.
Okay.
Yeah, because we got 1 minute, and for those of us just joining us, they're outside of a Quick Trip, the Quick Trip. It's 42 minutes late. There's been some speculation that they wanted to do it outside of the Quick Trip because the national media wanted the backdrop. So without further ado, here's the police chief.
Sorry about being late. I know that the timeline hasn't really played out like I expected it would. But as some of you are aware, I've had a lot of sunshine law requests for information and documents about a variety of things, some of which is not available to me. But anyway, so I'm here to talk about two things. First of all, the name of the officer involved in the shooting, and then I've had a lot of sunshine requests for information. I'm going to be releasing information about a robbery that occurred on August 9th, immediately preceding the altercation and shooting death of Michael Brown. It's important to note that I have made contact with someone who is in contact with Officer Brown's family to make them aware of this information being released. What we're making available today are the dispatch records and the video footage of a robbery, a strong-arm robbery, with use of force that occurred at a local convenience mart. I cannot discuss the investigation about the attempted apprehension of the suspect in that strong-arm robbery. That goes to this county prosecutor's office. I won't be taking any questions today, right now. Not today. I won't be taking any questions here. I want to give this information to you, let everybody digest it, and then later on, sometime afternoon, we can get together again, and then I'll take questions. So I just want to give you a little timeline of what happened on August 9th. From 11:48 to noon, the officer involved in the shooting was on a sick call on Glen Arc. There was an ambulance present. At 11:51, there was a 911 call from a convenience store nearby, not this one. At 11:52, dispatch gave a description of robbery suspect over the radio. A different officer arrived at the store where the strong-arm robbery occurred. A further description, more detail, was given over the radio, and stated the officer was walking toward, or the suspect was walking toward Quick Trip. Our officer left the sick call. He encountered the. I'm sorry. Let's see. At 12:01 p.m. Our officer encountered Michael Brown on Canfield Drive. At 12:04, a second officer arrived on the scene immediately following the shooting. And at 12:05, a supervisor was dispatched to the scene, and subsequent officers arrived. There has been some questions about the calling of an ambulance. The ambulance that was at the sick case on Glen Arc was coming by immediately following the shooting, and they did respond to assess Michael Brown. So I'm going to have some police officers going to be handing out packets that have all the information that was requested and the sunshine request concerning the robbery. We're going to give those packets, first of all, to those agencies that have made the sunshine request, and then anybody else who wants them. I think we have enough to give out. We've got quite a few. I'm sorry. The officer that was involved in the shooting of Michael Brown was Darren Wilson. He's been a police officer for 6 years, has had no disciplinary action taken against him. He was treated for injuries which occurred on Saturday. Again, I won't be taking any questions at this time, but the packets will be handed out by my officers. And the name is Darren, Darren Wilson, Wilson. And thank you, and I'll see you again this afternoon.
Officer Tom, Police Chief Jackson being pulled from the podium from another police officer. He was there, seemed like he was listening or answering or trying to listen to a question or two and wanted to respond, and yet was jerked and pulled away by another police officer, told, "We have to go." Somewhat of a disjointed news conference. He stopped several times. Looks like it sounded. Now, here's the thing. We're watching on the monitors as well as listening. You're listening. So it sounded like he had to regain composure. On the video, it looked like he just was fumbling with his newspapers. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's just
it's so hard to tell.
It could be a little bit of both.
That's exactly right. Was a little disjointed in the timeline. Colin Jeffrey's there. We're going to go to him now. Colin Jeffrey, are you there?
I am there, and let me tell you, the reason he was pulled is there were a few people in the crowd that were starting to get a little close, I think, to the chief. They were starting to move up from behind him, so I think the police realized it might have been the best decision to remove the chief at that point. He did say that he's going to answer more questions after noon. As far as you were talking about it feeling a bit disjointed, I think it was. It seemed a little emotional, and you have to remember this officer is someone he's worked with for years, so it may have been a very uncomfortable situation for him. I can also tell you he lost his place on the paper a couple times, but yeah, just the crowd, there's definitely a lot more energy. It was very sedate just 15 minutes ago, and you can already hear sort of the chants of protesters. Everything's still peaceful. There's just a lot of energy in the crowd right now.
Yeah, Colin, who's yelling and how many people are there?
Well, there's a lot of press. I'd say there's between 40 and 50 press and maybe 25 to 40 protesters, actually. So there's quite a few more press here. And right now it just appears people in the community are really voicing their thoughts on that.
Is there one woman screaming, or is there multiple people screaming, or what's going on with the protesters?
There's one woman surrounded by press right now. That's probably who you can hear in the background. I'm going to move closer here in just a minute and see if I can hear what she's saying.
Try and put the microphone up to what she's saying.
Let me see here.
Clear if formal charges have been filed.
All right, Colin, let's just sort of use her as a backdrop. I don't know if that's any. Colin, move away from her. I don't know if that's adding anything to the conversation and or the information. So move away from her. We certainly want to give people the information and set the scene, but it doesn't sound like she's listening to anybody or in any type of. Sounds like she's just very upset.
And
what she's actually speaking to, it sounds like, is the other half of the news conference is Chief Jackson was responding to Freedom of Information requests about a strong-armed robbery that occurred just about 10 to 15 minutes before Michael Brown was shot. They didn't name a suspect in that, but we're going to get a packet of information from police. So I'll have more information on that once I have a chance to look through it.
Okay. Do you have that packet of information yet?
No, they're issuing it first to people who issued Freedom of Information requests and then passing them out to the rest of the media. They said they were confident they would have enough to pass them out, so I've got to go wait here to get that packet.
Okay, all right. So that was interesting. Colin, we'll let you get the packet. Call us back if you have more information.
Will do.
All right, thanks. Colin Jeffrey on the scene of Quick Trip. Mm-hmm. It was a disjointed, according to Colin, he lost his place on the paper. It was very odd to connect the convenience store strong-arm robbery with this police shooting.
And that's the reason, for a couple of reasons, why they should have had it in a controlled setting.
Yes.
So the media can do their jobs and be able to ask questions, do some follow-up questions, because you're talking about a strong-armed robbery, and then you're talking about the death of Michael Brown. And
why?
Right.
What's the connection? Why are you bringing this up now?
He's giving us a timeline, but we don't know why.
Right.
And he says that couldn't be explained in the packet, but we need to do follow-up questions. And he's going to do that later in the afternoon, but
that's exactly right. It is just the job is to get the information out. The information is key. Once people have the information and the facts, we can then assess what's going on in a calm and collected way.
Because you could hear in the background,
right?
Someone who is clearly upset about something.
Okay, right. So now we know the name of the officer is Darren Wilson. Okay, I don't know what that adds to the story, but now we have why bring up this robbery? Was Michael Brown and his friend involved somehow in this robbery? Were they at the scene? Were they not at the scene? Is it important because the ambulance was close by? Was it important to know that he was shot at 12:01 and another officer showed up on the scene at 12:04 because he was in the area because of this convenience store strong-arm robbery? We don't have the answers to any of that. But it seems very odd to have a connection and to in a news conference in which so many people wanted the name and they were debating back and forth and should we and shouldn't we and should we and shouldn't we, to not say the name until you somehow bring up this other robbery. It just seemed very disjointed. And the question everybody has is why? Why bring this up? Why confuse the story if it has nothing to do with it? And if it does have something to do with it, what's the connection now?
And tell us, follow up. We need to answer these questions.
All right, so that's the latest. Colin Jeffries there. We'll be checking back with Colin once he gets the packet. We'll have more on all of this. 8:50.